Luke from Arrowhead Rifles. Dude, this is an insane show. Like, the first couple days were okay, but man, already Saturday, and it's busy. I mean, we're kind of off in the corner here, but man, you walk down that main aisle where you are.
Oh yeah,
and you can't even walk barely.
I headed up this way 15 minutes before start time, and I wasn't sure I was going to make it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you're just bobbing and weaving in and out of people. It's insane how big this show is. You know, I only came here last year for the first time. Just to kind of walk it to see if we wanted a booth, and it was like, man, this is insane. Even just 1 year last year versus this year, like the difference that I've seen in just like what the people are doing with their booths and like the kind of the extravagance of the booths. It's
like that all-in booth?
Yeah,
holy cow, that thing's insane.
It's insane. So this is an awesome show. So how long have you been doing the show?
I think it was 2018 or 2019, so 5 or 6 years. They didn't do it 1 year for COVID.
Okay.
So, but yeah, otherwise we've been up here every year since then. Basically, when I moved to Arizona from Iowa.
How did you find out about this show? Because I just heard about it recently, and I've been in this industry a while.
Ryan McMillan over at Vortex told me about it. He's like, you got to get into that show.
Well, it's obviously becoming a huge thing. I mean, and I wonder, like, so I was talking to one of the guys, and he's like, yeah, we pull people. I mean, it's in Salt Lake, but they say they pull people from everywhere.
Yeah, we've sold a bunch of rifles, and I think the majority of them aren't even going to Utah.
Yeah.
So Wisconsin, Montana, Idaho. Yeah.
I saw something on your Instagram. It's spacing me now, but I was like, I feel like you just did a big project.
So we partnered with Weatherby. They sent us their 307 builder action, and we
pretty cool.
put a muzzleloader together on it.
So just a Remington, as long as it's a Remington 700.
Right. We in that case they sent us a 223 receiver, and we're able to slot that for our module. Just cut a keyway slot in it, so the module just drops in instead of having to hook it into the bolt face. But yeah, it's very simple to put together into a muzzleloader.
So you are primarily a muzzleloader builder.
That's what we're known for. I started the business in 2011, and I think for the first 7 or 8 years, all we did were muzzleloaders. Right now, we're probably 65%, 60% muzzleloaders, and then we also do a bunch of centerfire rifles now.
I feel like the muzzleloader world has grown a lot.
For sure. So growing up in Iowa, like, muzzleloaders were always a big part of that. You know, night muzzleloaders was Iowa-based. We the Midwest, slug guns and muzzleloaders. So really, muzzleloaders were typically more effective, especially with the onset of inlines 20 or 30 years ago. Yeah, I feel like out here in the West, like, it's just, even in the 6 years I've been out here, it's really grown.
Because they're pushing them out farther. You can shoot them farther than you ever could.
Right, and then and with point creep and all the rifle stuff, you get a little bit of relaxation with the muzzleloader hunts where you can draw some of those easier. But yeah, absolutely, the more effective range, the simplicity we've created, where it's not the ordeal that it used to be shooting a muzzleloader. What's
an effective range of a muzzleloader, like a custom one like you built?
So ringing steel, 900, 1,000 yards, no problem.
Wow.
The muzzle, the consistency you get with a muzzleloader, with a good ignition system, with a good barrel, with the right load, is substantially easier to compared to a centerfire. We'll see single-digit ESs all the time. The bullets are a little lower BC, so like the wind calls get tough. That's where I say ringing steel 900, 1,000 yards, no problem. But like, I'd say your average hunter that's decent at calling wind 400 or 500 yards is very doable.
And because your velocities are lower, and that's what kind of one of the things that separates muzzleloader is it's subsonic, right? Or no,
we're like for the Blackhorn 209 guns here for the West, we're 300 grain bullet at 2,500 feet per second. But it's a like a .185 G7 BC, so more like a 308 type.
And so these muzzleloaders, I don't know much about them, but this is good because then you're going to get to talk to me like you maybe talk to a customer who doesn't know much about them. When you think of a muzzleloader, when I think of a muzzleloader, I think of kind of like a not a bullet like you'd see in a centerfire bullet, not a rifled barrel, almost like a smooth barrel. Is that true or no?
Well, even like a patch and ball muzzleloader is going to have rifling.
Okay.
There's really not much for. I mean, it'd be a shotgun, right? Basically, if there's no rifling. But yeah, so ours are essentially a single shot rifle. The bullets we shoot look. For those listening, it's like a flat base Hornady A tip. It's a big aluminum tip, copper jacket. So looks like just a flat base rifle bullet.
So are they bullets specifically for muzzleloaders, or are you interchanging centerfire muzzleloader bullets?
So ours are built specifically for muzzleloaders. You can use a Hornady SST or FTX type bullet in them. The copper on those bullets is a little harder and thicker, so they're not as good for a muzzleloader, so we do some tweaks with a thinner jacket, softer copper to help them perform better in the muzzleloader, but it's very similar to a rifle bullet.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what, my next question is, answer this in a vague way or not, but like what's the volume of muzzleloaders that you guys do? I mean, I'm just curious about how many muzzleloaders are out there and how many are bought every year.
Right. I think the number, like we're that 100, 150 muzzleloaders a year range, not huge numbers. I mean, for a custom gun maker,
That's
I guess that's
for
a
a custom
gun maker, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember the number I heard. It's like there's like 8 million muzzleloader hunters in the U.S. So
wow.
I mean, there's a lot of muzzleloader hunting going on.
Well, then you've got some of the bigger companies like CVA, and they're. They seem to have a pretty big market. I mean, because we as Graybow, we do some stocks for them, so we have some idea of how many they sell on at least one line. And so it seems like a pretty big market out there. And I don't know about how every state handles it, but I know in Arizona, you get kind of priority in a way, like the tags, you get better part of the season and easier to get a tag if you have a muzzleloader versus like a centerfire.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, you still get the crossover with the early muzzleloader seasons for elk in Arizona, but some of the later seasons you may have a little bit of improvement compared to a rifle. But like I put in for, I don't like normally talking about units, but it's no secret, like Unit 9's a killer unit for elk in Arizona. I think that's I'm at 7 points, and I'm sitting at 1.5% draw odds with a muzzleloader for that hunt. But so the premium hunts, it's not necessarily going to buy you anything in draw odds, but maybe get you in 3 or 4 years sooner. Instead of 25 years, you'll be 21 years or something like that.
So when you're building your muzzleloaders, you just said you build one on a 307 Weatherby, which is a Remington 700 clone. But are you building on particular actions, any action? Are you building it specifically for the customer? Do you have, specific lines, like kind of off-the-shelf lines?
So the ones we build from scratch are the ones we stock normally. Right now we're using the Defiance Outcast muzzleloader action for our action. The barrels, we primarily use Brooks barrels, cut rifled barrel. Because of the mechanics of shooting a copper bullet with no sabot, no wad, the fit has to be extremely precise. We're talking down to the tenths of a thou is what we control. So Brooks is able to maintain that bore diameter tolerance to where we can do precise bullets that work. Bartlett's another brand that we use as well for barrels, and then so that's. But we are able to throw a barrel on a Remington 700 action, a Savage action. We actually carry pre-fit barrel nut barrels for Remington and Savage centerfire actions.
So you can use really any centerfire action? Is there any modification to that, or is it just straight up?
Remove the ejector plunger, so because the module is short, it has to be hooked into the bolt face. You don't just throw it in the port and close it. So if you remove the ejector plunger and then just hook it under the extractor, to load it.
So the Defiance that you use, is that come to you like ready to go, or do you have to do some work?
No, it's ready to go. So on those, since it's dedicated for a muzzleloader, instead of a more traditional bolt head, it's slotted for the module just to be dropped into the bolt head instead of having to hook it into the extractor. And then they also have moved the bolt stop forward, so the bolt head stops in the loading port instead of dropping back into the back of the receiver.
So is every rifle you build custom? I mean, does a customer call in and say, hey, I want this stock, I want this barrel, or do you guys do some off-the-shelf stuff?
We also do some off-the-shelf stuff. So we try to have a few spec builds going at all time and try and have at least 1 or 2 things up on the website that are ready to go. If you get into June, July, August, and the hunts are coming up, we'll definitely get some last-minute customers that are having gun issues or whatever and want to upgrade last moment. But majority of our stuff is full-on custom, where a customer calls in and we go through build, item by item and spec it out exactly how they want.
Have you got the process down pretty well? I mean, I owned a rifle company more than 10 years ago, and the biggest challenge we had was getting parts in. There's a lot of different parts to an action. We made our own action, so that was one challenge. But making sure all the parts were there, making sure the barrels were there, the stocks were there, bottom metals were there, everything was there so that you could build the gun and send it out, right? And so how are you finding that? I mean, have you really found a good groove in that, or is there supply chain issues? Or?
We just carry an obscene amount of inventory.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I come from before I went into the gun business, I worked in the semiconductor industry, and it was all about lean manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
we just throw that all out the door and just
so hard.
Carry too much.
And I hear too, one of the hardest things to get is barrels. I don't know how that is for muzzleloader barrels, but one of the hardest things to get consistently is barrels. Do you feel that?
It is. Yeah, I've been working with Brooks for going on 15 years now, and they take really good care of me. And I just order an obscene number of barrels, and but even then we've been running out between batches now.
Well, and it's hard to. I mean, inventory costs a lot of money, and cash in any business is important. You got to have cash to be able to function. So if your cash is all tied up in inventory, that's a hard place to be. But it's also a hard place to be not having some parts and not having other parts and being able to deliver and get paid.
You can't sell it if you don't have it.
Yeah.
But the last 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't really worry about tying it up in inventory since I was going to get 0.5% on cash. In the last couple of years, I've been trying to run a little leaner since there's actually you can get a little bit of interest on your money in the savings accounts. But I just haven't found just with the lead times that are out there. It's if you're not carrying the inventory, customers want builds in a timely fashion, and the 8 to 12 months to knock out a custom rifle. I mean, I don't think that's reasonable. So
and we find in our business too, there's a lot of business to be had for those. There's certain times of the year where people want stuff now, whether it's right before a hunt or even right after hunts where they had something fail and they're like, man, I'm going to buy this now. And if you don't have something available for them, you're going to lose that sale. So having just something available, that's a big part of the business. And there are people who are willing to wait, especially for products like yours. They know you're a custom build. So there's people that are willing to wait. People who come to you know that they have to wait. But I would imagine that there's still a lot of business to be had for just having something there for someone to buy when they need it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's sometimes it blows my mind how many people want a week before the season call up and are looking.
Procrastinators
a
out
lot
there.
of procrastinators.
They'll pay full price for it.
Yeah.
So what's next for you guys? Anything new coming up?
We partnered with Weatherby on that builder action. I think this year we're just kind of trying to streamline things and make the business run a little more smoothly, but nothing real big on the horizon. I was just talking to your other Ryan about, I think that Phoenix 2 would pair really well in a 22 Creedmoor. I know you stopped out the shop, it was about a year ago.
It's been a while, I think, maybe 18 months or so.
You're going to have to stop back out and see if my daughter's warmed up to you at all. But that was funny.
Yeah, I have that effect on young women. So.
Yeah. But I think that would, with the adjustable comb on that, I think that would pair well with a lot of guys are on those 22 Creedmoors as thermal guns. The scope height gets up there. Yeah. With the ability to throw a Arca rail on there and drop it in a tripod, I think that would make a good for our level of rifle, or our target market, but more of a budget build. That's I'm actually excited to put a few of those together.
Yeah, that Phoenix is, I still think it's probably the best buy in that range of kind of long-range hunter. It's a couple $100 less than everything else out there. It's lighter than everything else out there. It's got the adjustability. It doesn't have everything, but it has enough. It's a good product for the price range, and we see a lot of interest. It's by far our biggest selling stock, but even in the OEMs, it took them a little while to warm up to it because it was the look of it. It was the first stock that we had that had like that kind of sunken butt and like the universality to it. But people have really warmed up to it. Just across here, Arrow's got a bunch of them in their booth. They're starting to sell them now. We're working with Savage on that project, and there's a number of other companies that we're working with the Phoenix in particular. So it's just a good, solid, good-looking stock, functional, well-priced. I think that would, whether it's a 22 or anything even bigger caliber, it's a good all around, hunting stock with a lot of adjustability for what you're paying for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So okay, Weatherby, with Weatherby, you've got this project. Is it an ongoing project? Was it one build you did that's kind of like a marketing thing? Or?
JD and I hooked up at the Swarovski shoot back in September when they were premiering or showing off their new Z5 Plus, and have been talking muzzleloaders since. He's like, JD's muzzleloaders are kind of a passion project for him. Mm-hmm. So he's like, well, why don't I get some actions up to you to turn into muzzleloaders? And so it's been the last 3 or 4 months we've been toying around with it.
So what's the relationship look like? You're building on 307s? Are you selling them? Are they going to try to market them for you? Like what's that? Too early to tell?
Super informal at this point. I think it's probably going to be us buying their Peak 44 stock and the builder action and throwing it together in a muzzleloader for the guy, the Weatherby fans, and I think we'll be able to hit a little better price point than some of our full-on custom builds, just because it's yeah.
Well, it's good. Like I think there's so much. This industry has gotten so big and so good. Like just 15 years ago, I don't know how long you guys have been in the industry, but 15, 20 years ago, like, it's just a good old boy industry. Not a whole lot of innovation in it, and. The companies that can be flexible, I think, and do unique things and kind of give that sense to the customer that they're getting a custom product without it actually being the real challenge of making custom work for the manufacturer. I think there's a lot of value there from a customer standpoint. I think customers will pay for that. I feel like there's so much more money coming into this industry. I mean, just like we talked about earlier, look at these booths. Like it's a reflection on the money that's being spent at their company. They can then turn around and put more effort and money into their booths and their presentation. Yeah. And so there's obviously money coming in to the industry, and people are excited about all the innovation that's happening in this industry.
Yeah, man. Even in the last 5 or 6 years, it's just crazy how things have snowballed and the changes we've seen. Specifically for us in the muzzleloader industry, just in the last decade, how it's progressed to where when I started out with the muzzleloader thing 15 or 16 years ago, 200 or 300 yards was a big deal, and now that's just an afterthought. But collabing in the industry and stuff, it's fun. Like guys like JD, we're not even doing business together, and you have me on the website. It's the market's growing so much. Like there's no reason to take your ball and play in your corner with it, right? It's a big market. Like everybody wins. The consumer wins, especially when you see these collabs, the competition. That's just driven the innovation, because you have to differentiate yourself somehow, and hopefully it's not just with flashy lights and stuff. It's actual value added to the customer.
Yeah, I mean, we found ourselves in some partnership situations coming up in new products we're doing in 2025, and they're so exciting because there's things we can't do. You have to kind of be realistic with yourself, like what can we and can't we do, and who do we want to work with that's going to actually build value for the customer. And so we're coming out with a couple products this year that will end up being really great, cool products that I think the customers are going to love, but that are not fully 100% gray bow products. They'll be like combo products with other, and it may be a gray bow product. We may end up branding it fully gray bow, but we won't be the brains behind the whole thing. There's a collaboration between multiple companies to put these things together. So it's exciting. I love that. working with people. Again, also why I kind of started the podcast is just to talk to people. Have a way, an excuse in a way to just sit down and talk with you for 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's
cool. And also, in addition to that, we can put this online, and if people are interested, they can watch it. And so that's all. I think it's all helpful. So anyway, off on a tangent.
Yeah.
But any new rifle model? Any new rifle models you're doing?
Well, Defiance came out with their titanium action, so we've been building on those. I've been pressed. I've been hesitant to go titanium for a while just because of the cycling issues you see often with titanium, but they seem to have it dialed in as far. It's not quite steel action as far as the smoothness of cycling, but if you're super weight conscious, want to save 6, 7, 8 ounces off your rifle action weight, that's a great option. This year, it's like I said, it's not a ton of changes from last year, but the TI is probably the biggest thing.
Sometimes that's how it goes. If you're busy, and we've been in situations where we're working with customers, and they're like, hey, we're just going to focus on building what we've sold. So, we're not putting a lot of extra money in R&D or anything like that, and time. And
after this show, it's going to be a lot of focusing on building what we just sold. It's been crazy.
There's nothing wrong with that, man. Like, making sure your customers are happy, making sure that your paying customers are happy. When you do an R&D and when you're doing new products, you're always hoping to get that new customer or whatever. But, number one focus is making sure the customers that are paying and that are trusting you, you get them their product. So that's cool. Very cool. Well, hey, man, really good talking to you. Thanks for taking the time to stop by.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks.
Yep.